In my last video, Batman succumbed to communism and beat down the mentally ill, all without collecting a single stud, and today we are continuing that journey. But first, why don't you subscribe? I'm aiming for total world domination by the end of the year, and every subscriber helps. And in case you missed it, the previous video in this series is on the playlist on screen. We continue our LEGO Batman journey in the Batcave, where we encounter our first challenge, getting into the Batboat without collecting a stud. The reason this was an issue was due to this little line of studs right in front of the boat, which I had to carefully jump over. After a couple of quits and reloads, I did manage to jump over the studs, but then the boat decided it was going to force a stud upon me anyway. I tried many ways of getting rid of the stud. I tried reloading and entering the boat from different angles. I tried killing myself countlessly. I even tried giving it to charity, but nothing would work. This stud was now a permanent blemish on my perfect track record with no way of avoiding it. Does that mean this is a challenge failed already? Well, kind of, depending or not if you count the Batcave as a level. However, there is one way we can get this stud count down to 0. We have to do some maths. We have to get our total stud count to a nice round total in the thousands and spend it all at once. But to do this, we have to go about and pick up some more studs. Don't look at me, I didn't make the rules. As soon as we hit a nice round number that matches the cost of internet porn, we go ahead and buy gooning before going back down to the Batboat and commencing on level 6, where we have to fight Catwoman. Now, this level was pretty cool to be fair, since there were bottomless pits everywhere, leading to less deaths since Bruce Wayne couldn't grab the money from the abyss as easily as he could from a pit of radioactive gunk. We pretty much sped through this whole level, avoiding studs where possible and throwing ourselves off the roofs where not. This level then ends with our friend Robert revealing himself once again to be a Reform UK supporter and beating the shit out of Catwoman. Our total deaths on this level ended up at 30, and our total stud count sat at a nice round 0, if you don't count our antics in the Batcave. We continue on to level 7, where we discover Catwoman is actually a furry, before beginning the level for real. This level makes us suffer the most, for this is the Penguin sub-level. While a Penguin sub sounds like another delicious British delicacy, this level is actually a bitch, since for one I have to play with the mouse and keyboard controls, and the boat's turning circle is bigger than the catheter that's up my ass. Having to throw these bombs at silver Lego pieces is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, up there with trying to beat PvZ2 with only beans and your dad. The main reason this level was as hard as it was due to the boss at the end, since in order to damage this fucker, you had to drag more of these stupid fucking bombs, and it was genuinely harder to hit the boss than it was to not get studs. But upon actually beating the boss, the game also decides to give me one final punishment and directly transfers these studs into my bank account. I redid this level so many fucking times, but there was just no avoiding these studs because it was right at the end of the level. So I was going to have to accept my fate and accept that these studs were just unavoidable. In the end, I finished this level with a final death count of 62 and a stud collection of 1. As a punishment for this stud collection, Robert gets decapitated and we have to run back to the Batcave, get our money up slightly to another nice round number, and go and purchase some more internet porn before continuing on to the next level. If you didn't count before as a failure, there's a good chance you've counted this as a failure, but we're gonna keep going anyway just for the hell of it. Continuing on to level 8, we have to beat the inventor of Crocs. This level was pretty lengthy for a LEGO Batman level, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. At least there was plenty of ways for Batman to pledge himself to communism further by jumping into toxic goop. The only other thing to note in this level was, I swear to God, there was a goon giving backshots in the sewer. That and Killer Croc drank his own urine on the streets. Kids games used to be able to get away with some wild things in 2008, it's no wonder I'm so fucked up. In the end, Robert, also known as RoboHobo07, did a celebratory dance, and we beat Killer Croc with a death count of 43 and a stud count of 0. If you want to possess Robert's soul in the next video, be sure to comment, Robert, hear my plea, would you please suck on my toe cheese, down in the comments below. We then continue straight onto level 9, where we have to face off against Herpes Man, also known as Man-Bat, who is also known as Man. this bat looks cool. At this point, Batman has decided he's had enough of throwing himself off bridges for communism, and he pledges himself to fascism, before realising that fascism is fucking stupid, and he changes his pledge to farming by riding a tractor to Man-Bat before going back to communism and letting Man-Bat take all of his studs while Robert watched. In the end, we beat level 9 with 50 deaths and 0 studs collected. We can now finally continue on to level 15, where we have to beat up a small man, and we can see penguins with a gun, penguins with a gun. Thankfully, the cliff on this level was an absolute lifesaver, saving me a bunch of time, having to only die once to get rid of most of my studs. Nothing all that important happened here, it was the same as usual, but now we could finally fight the small man, and I can exact my revenge for what his penguin sub did to me. In the end, we managed to beat this level with 32 deaths and 0 studs collected. Now, usually, this would be where I would end the video, but not today. Uncle Whoie's gonna treat you by going on to the next world. Fortunately, getting into the Batjet doesn't require us to pick up a stud like the stupid fucking Batboat did, so we can continue straight away to level 11, where Robert wants to reenact Hiroshima. As we went through this level, we encountered one gooning goon who wanted to fuck with me by standing in a pile of studs to humiliate me in front of my live Twitch audience. Speaking of which, all of my videos are streamed over at twitch.tv/Whoie, so why don't you come on by before Robert commits more war crimes. We then run into the Mad Hatter, who gives Robert head control, meaning we once again had to save his pathetic ass before ending the level. In the end, we beat level 11 with 60 deaths and 0 studs collected. Level 12 was then followed by the next number of the alphabet, and I for one am so happy it's not a vehicle level. The vehicle controls in this game are just so dog shit. I'd be happy if I never had to drive one again, unless I'm wasted. Level 12 was a pretty uneventful level. In fact, it was so uneventful, I went to make some lunch.
Welcome to Roll for Sandwich, except I decide the sandwich. Bread, tomato, tomato, cheese, basil. Perfect.
And by the time I got back, Robert was being a raving misogynist and beat the fuck out of Harley Quinn, finishing the level for us with 33 deaths and somehow 0 studs collected. Well done, Robert, you redeemed yourself ever so slightly. Unfortunately, I might have spoken too soon about the vehicles, because on level 13 we have to deal with Professor Kyle Crane on a vehicle level. Fortunately, it's probably the best vehicle level yet, since it's directly ripped off from LEGO Star Wars. Same gimmicks, same controls, same everything. The only thing that can beat this level is Garfield Kart. Unfortunately, this level fell apart as soon as you had to play Robert to beat it. I have a theory, guys, now just bear with me. I think Robert did 9/11. Fortunately, this level was pretty easy. I had a couple of ways to insta-kill myself, and the studs instantly disappeared from my bank account upon death, so I managed to finish this level with only 20 deaths and 0 studs collected. The next level was the number that came after 13, and we had to deal with this Moth wanker. This was probably one of the most uninteresting levels in this whole series. It's very standard. In the end, we managed to beat level 14 with 0 studs and a whopping 55 deaths. Now we can finally end the hero storyline of Sonic Heroes by going into the final level to fight the Jonkler. This level starts just like the end of any good story, with an execution by firing squad and a ballerina who won't stop flipping on the balcony. So naturally, Batman and Robert chase down the ballerina, throwing ourselves off the balcony as many times as necessary before committing further domestic terrorism and being shaken off by a clown just like my 7th birthday party. At this point, I had already been recording for 6 hours straight, so I wanted this level done as fast and as painlessly as possible, so I went round the boss arena, collecting every last stud before sending them straight to the abyss, before taking revenge on the Jonkler and finally ending the hero's story. This level gave me 70 deaths, but we somehow managed to beat it with 0 studs total, bringing our total death count to 704 for the hero story, and our total stud count ended at 1. The story ends with Batman and Robert standing proudly over Gotham, fully ready to commit themselves to communism, but somehow we're only halfway through this game. We still have to deal with the villain story, so you better subscribe or I'll come and give you a timeout.